my YouTube live. I was just live on TikTok and decided to jump on here real quick. So let's see if any of you guys have any questions for the live today. I'm going to be answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, and questions about your natal chart. So this is an impromptu live. So let's see if people do jump into the chat. Now, if you guys are interested in your own natal chart readings or progressed natal chart readings, feel free to check out my website. It's going to be in the description box below. Underneath the readings tab, you guys can select on which reading you guys want. And then through that, you're going to get an email window pop up and then send me an email, okay? If you guys don't have an email window pop up, then send me an email anyways. And then through that, you guys we're gonna chat and then we'll go from there. Welcome to everyone joining. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, and questions about your natal charts. Hey, yeah, I decided to come on here real quick. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, A. So kind of you. Good evening. Oh my gosh, Angelina, how are you? How are you doing? What is going on, everybody? What should we talk about today? I put astrology, metaphysics, natal charts, all of these types of things. Whatever you guys want to know about, let's chat. I was live on TikTok and then I came on here to chat with you guys as well. So it's not planned. In the future, I will put a little window thing, okay? So you guys know when I plan to come on YouTube. He said, do you think Venus in Capricorn is the most loyal among all Venus signs? That's a really good question. They're definitely gonna be the most grounded and they definitely have the least amount of time to waste. And I would say also for them, like, I don't wanna say relationships aren't a priority. Hey Irene, how are you doing? I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, and questions about your guys' natal charts or whatever you guys want to talk about. Let me know below and we will talk about it. So yeah, that's a really good question about Venus and Capricorn. They're going to be grounded in this particular area. They're not going to play around. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to waste time. Like you would think that a Venus in Leo and a Venus in Scorpio would be loyal, but depends, right? Depends on the people, depends on what's going on with them. So in a way, they're gonna be more grounded, they're gonna be more practical. Venus in Sagittarius is more so, depends on the chart, but usually they're like the bachelors or the bachelorettes of the zodiac. So in the earlier part of their life, they're not really committal. The Venus and Sag people, so we do progress, okay? So it depends what degrees they have Venus and Sag. So let's say it's the later degrees, maybe they've come out of Venus and Sag already. Maybe it's not as strong. If it's in the earlier degrees, it's gonna take a while for them to progress. Make sure you guys like the live. It gets the video out there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You said you have any advice for a Capricorn rising with Saturn in the third house? I will get to everyone's questions, so I will just be going in order. So I'm just going back up here. You said, do you have any advice for a Capricorn rising with Saturn in the third house, Aries, for their Saturn return? Hold on. Do you have Saturn in Pisces or in Aries? Because you still have a while until your Saturn return. My thoughts on this new moon, it falls into your sixth house. Okay, that's so interesting. I was just talking about this on TikTok. So, okay, this is how you guys want to look at it, okay? Anytime there is any planetary alignment happening in the sky, you want to see what house do you have that sign in your natal chart. So when people do those readings and they're like, Taurus rising goes through this, Libra rising goes through this, they're basing it off of the houses, okay? So it's like, let's say you are a Libra rising, right? Then you're gonna see what house you have Sagittarius in, and that's the house that's going to be affected with that particular planetary alignment, okay? So to understand better, you're gonna see what is the alignment. So it's a new moon, so what are new moons? You're starting something new, maybe you're gonna pick up a new habit or a new hobby or whatever it is during the new moon. Then you wanna see what sign is it in, it's in Sag. So the energy of the new moon is Sagittarius-like, okay? So fun, freedom, philosophies, learning new things. Then you want to see what house you have Sag in your natal chart, okay? So Carla, you have it in your sixth house. That's the house of daily routines, health, healing, and being of service. It's work. It's going to also be your colleagues as well, okay, with the sixth house. So for example, let's say a new person starts at your work and this person teaches you some sort of new philosophy or, you know, brings through some sort of new belief system for you. There you go. That's the new moon and Sag in action. Now, you know, when you look at the one placement, it's going to, the one, you know, planetary transit, it's only a little bit of the story, right? You want to look at the whole picture. You want to see what's going on with all the transits and everything and these types of things to get a better idea of what's going on. But for fun, you know, when we look at these things, if you just kind of want to see what's going on, Mercury's going retrograde. Mercury's going retrograde in Sag. It's going to affect the house that you have Sagittarius in. So you guys can do this for any planetary alignment for yourselves, okay? Welcome, welcome, welcome to all the people joining. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the comments. I'm just going in order. Make sure you guys like the video. I will get to everyone. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. Hi Shannon, how are you doing? You said thoughts on Jupiter and Scorpio conjunct North Node and Scorpio both in the 12th house. That is like a life purpose of transmuting energy, okay? So it's interesting because it's like part of your life purpose is to clear and transmute energy, right? So what is this? It can be so many different things with Scorpio, okay? It can be through singing. So I just did a video on my second channel on Selena Quintanilla, and it was a natal chart reading. So that second channel, Barbara Talks Some More, is about public figure natal chart readings for now at least, okay? So it's basically saying how she was a quote unquote high level empath, okay? And a lot of the time these people are transmuting through their vessels. So it doesn't really matter what these people do. It's more so like what I was thinking about today actually after I did the reading was that it kind of depends, like the collective almost decides what avenue you're going to take, okay? So during the time that she incarnated, right, the avenue was music, okay? People were really into music and that was a way to raise the frequency. So in that situation, it kind of manifested into her transmuting energy through sound, if that makes sense, right? In this current age, it could be so many different things with Scorpio. Scorpio is about power and control. Doesn't really matter what they do. You could be in like some sort of, you know, upper position where you make a lot of money. It could be this. It could be astrology. It could be anything that's hidden. It could be esoterica. It could be energy work overall. You could be into Reiki, right? So you have Jupiter conjuncting here. So it's like you can make money through your life purpose. And also you have it in the 12th house. You're basically coming through to close out something for a previous lifetime. And a lot of the time, the 12th house is a lot of previous lifetimes that you're closing out in this current lifetime, okay? So that's kind of how it works. So sometimes, you know, when people, it's interesting because it's like we're kind of going through a shift, right? Collectively of, you know, what is, I guess, popular and important, I guess you can say, right? Because we're also shifting out of age of Pisces into age of Aquarius, okay? So we're kind of coming out of like film and entertainment and music. It doesn't mean it's not going to be around. I mean, sound has been around forever, right? It's just how is the collective, you know, like what are they prioritizing, right? So a lot of the time when people don't feel like they're maybe in alignment with their purpose, it's because we're on like that precipice of change. So it's like the collective energetically is deciding what's going to be the next thing. I hope that makes sense, okay? Welcome to all the people joining. Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I decided to come on YouTube for my live. I did do a quick little TikTok live, so I will be posting that one this week as well. Let's see. I'm just going in order, so I will get to everyone. Irene, sorry. You said love has been so hard for you. You have a Leo ascendant. You would date, but they were non-committal. Is it because you have a Leo ascendant? It depends. Because you have Aquarius in your descendant. So what's interesting, okay, here is what's interesting with all of this. So a few things are interesting here. So first of all, Leo ascendant, your Aquarius descendant. So your 7th house is in Aquarius. So a lot of the time what you guys want to do is you guys want to see what's happening with the 7th house in Aquarius, because that's going to tell you guys what your shadow traits might be, okay, and what things you might have to integrate within yourself. So maybe you were non-committal, for example, because Aquarius can be detached. So you're attracting these types of people into your life, right? And usually with the descendant in the 7th house, it's going to be types of people that you know, it's usually shadow traits, okay, with the descendant, because it's like, that's just how the unconscious works. Because we're unaware of it, usually it's the shadow aspect of that particular sign. That's just how it works. I have a video on this. I have actually a playlist on the descendant, okay? So you guys can check out more information on the descendant in there, okay? So there's this. So maybe it's because of this, because Aquarius can be detached. So that's just something that you kind of have to integrate within yourself as well, right? So you kind of want to see what are these people mirroring back to you when you look at that 7th house descendant. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all the people joining. Thank you for being in my live. Make sure you guys like the live. Thank you. You said you have North Node and 7th and Capricorn. What's up with this? The way you wrote it with all those question marks, I don't know, it just made me laugh. Okay, North Node and 7th house in Capricorn, that's your community building you up, okay? So that's that North Node in the 7th house. So your connections are gonna be really important. And also because it's in Capricorn, you wanna climb to something, right? You're climbing to higher heights. You're climbing to some sort of higher echelons of society, okay? So that's what you're doing. So you might wanna have a business, or you might wanna be a CEO, or you might wanna work your way up, you know, a company, or you might wanna be a lawyer, whatever it is, okay? That's North Node in Capricorn. 7th house is the community that's propping you up, okay? So with this access, what I've noticed, when you have North Node in the 7th, and then you have your South Node in the 1st, something that happens with these people is in a past life, it was all about the self your lifetime. And it could have potentially been like to the extreme of like you never asking for help, for example, right? So that could be something that's like a pattern from a past life that in this lifetime, you kind of want to lean on the community around you. That's that 7th house. Okay, it's your relationships, all interpersonal relationships. So your lovers, your friends, your business partners, they're elevating, they're helping elevate you, okay, into the life purpose, which is the North Node. So it's this. Welcome to all the people joining. Yay, I'm so glad that that resonated. Is metaphysical the same as law of attraction? Metaphysical, okay, let me tell you guys what metaphysics is. Metaphysics, this is my perception of the way that I see it. It's like, it's the energy that's happening behind the scenes, okay? So a lot of the time, and it's so funny, I was just thinking about this today. A lot of the time, we think that we're doing something, right? And especially if you're unconscious, like when you're in the more unconscious like phases of life, right? You think you're doing something, but there's always an energetic story that's happening behind the scenes. What's pulling you into this direction? So that's why sometimes you want to master, right? Even the unconscious, because you want to be aware of where your thoughts and ideas and all these things are coming from. And are they even your own, okay? Especially when you're younger, you might merge, right? When you're younger, I see it kind of like, just like, I feel, I don't know, the way that I always psychically see it is like your solar plexus hasn't landed yet, you know, like it hasn't fully come into the body, your aura is open. That's kind of how I see it, right? So that's kind of like what metaphysics is, and just like metaphysical reasoning for things is the energy that's happening behind another thing, right? There's always a reason, like a spiritual reason, a metaphysical reason. I say metaphysical because these days, like when people talk about spirituality, like the word is kind of thrown around. So I like saying metaphysical more so, but that's the overall idea with metaphysics overall, is the energy behind something. Why is something taking place? What's happening energetically here? What is the reason behind it? Because there's always something energetically, like there's always a whole energetic story happening behind the scenes, especially at this point in time. Like I feel like a lot of people have had a lot of reincarnations. So there's a lot of karmic entanglements. There's a lot of karmic binding. There's a lot of karmic situations, like all these things. So that's what's taking place. So that's what metaphysics is. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. You're welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all the people joining. Make sure you guys hit like on the video, gets the video out there so we can meet more astrology friends. You said Aries. Okay, so this is, you were asking about your Saturn return. Okay, so let me just go back up. Oh my gosh, your question disappeared about your Saturn return. I think, oh no, there it is. Okay. You said you had, do you have any advice for Capricorn rising with Saturn in the 3rd house, Aries? So your Saturn return, you still have some time. You still have basically this whole Saturn and Pisces transit, so it's 3 years. So when you do go through your Saturn return, it's going to be going through your 3rd house, okay? This is going to be the house of communication. So maybe to prep for this, you know, really learning how to open up your throat chakra, have really good communication skills, actually speak, say things that are on your mind. You know, sometimes like, for example, let's say you go to a restaurant and, you know, maybe they mix up the order and you don't get the order that you wanted. And sometimes maybe you might be like, that's fine, I'm not going to say anything about that, for example, but maybe the way that I would always see it back in the day was like, this is like a throat chakra test. Like you're meant to speak up in that situation and say, hey, you know, this is not what I ordered. I actually ordered this other thing. And that's kind of, you know, helping you open up that throat chakra. So during like the Saturn return and that 3rd house, right, you could be going through, you know, changes around your communication or like struggles with communication. It could also be struggles with siblings as well, but overall it's the throat chakra in this way, communicating, saying some sort of idea, you know, what you think, how you feel, like it's all 3rd house types of things. Maybe you might want to write, maybe you might want to speak. So what I've noticed with Saturn is a lot of the time, whatever house is going through, you're actually meant to master that in this current lifetime. So you go through the challenges when you're young, and then Saturn's kind of prepping you. It's kind of giving you almost like this like hard exterior in a sense, not too hard. Obviously, you kind of want to have a balance of everything within, but it's kind of prepping you for that role, right? So sometimes Saturn in the 3rd house people are here to communicate something, some sort of message, and you probably have the burning desire within, but it's like you get restricted. So either the father restricts this area, if it's not the father, dominant masculine role in your life. If it's not this person, then it's your teachers, it's your authorities, it's your managers, like whoever is in these types of positions, okay? You'll see this happen throughout your life. Maybe when, you know, you did something for school and it was like a presentation, you know, you had to do some kind of presentation. Maybe the teachers would always pinpoint something, or maybe they'd be like, you talk like this, when you should say like this, or it could also be the mind as well. So Saturn could restrict maybe the area of learning as well. It could be this as well. So all these things are going to kind of come up to the surface to be reassessed during your Saturn return. Let's see. I always say, so for Bella, you asked, yeah, I'm glad that you caught me on a live as well. You said when we ask questions, I'll get back to everyone in just a second, but you said when we ask questions, yay, oh my God, so many of you guys are hype. Okay, I will do more YouTube lives. I've been mainly going on TikTok, but I will schedule them too, so you guys know. Today I kind of came impromptu, but yes, I will schedule them in advance, or at least a few hours in advance. I don't like to schedule them too in advance, but anyways, overall, maybe it'll be like a little bit before rather than like in the moment. So you said when you ask questions, you ask based on your natal chart or your progress chart. That's a good question. Here's the thing, it's so funny. Someone asked me something very similar in the TikTok live, and basically what I was saying was like, it kind of depends where you're at in terms of your progression. You really have to see within yourself, like what energy are you resonating with currently, right? So it's like, let's say you were, I don't know, let's say you were an Aries sun, right? But maybe you were an Aries sun at the later degrees, and you've progressed now. You've come out of Aries, and maybe Aries sun never resonated with you, and now maybe you resonate more with Taurus, for example. So it's up to you, really, is what that is. I always see the secondary progressions as an added overlay, okay? So it's like, it doesn't mean your natal chart is forgotten. This is still the imprint of when you were born. It's just an added energy. How have you progressed and how have you evolved? So the more that we grow, the more that you go through the progressions, right? So if you're younger and it's only maybe the sun that progressed, maybe that's not gonna affect you as much, right? Compared to like, maybe when you're older, you've completely progressed out of that. They do say if we live up until the age of 80 that we go through 3 sun progressions. The moon progresses every 2 years. So you can kind of look at that as like the current phase that you're in for those 2 years on an emotional level. But again, the core of who you are is still there, right? It's still there. Hey, how are you guys doing? Yes, okay, I will do more YouTube lives. Yes, I have a TikTok. It's BJosic, so BJOSIC. I go on there live, and like the things that I post on there these days are just kind of like my snippets from my lives. I used to post way more back in the day, but that's what I do on there now. Let's see what else you guys saying here. What are my thoughts on someone with a Saturn square sun and Jupiter and Libra? Saturn square sun, that's the father. So the father could have been maybe like, you know, one day like this, one day like that, right? It's kind of like inconsistent in a way. Kind of depends what sign you have in there as well. It'll tell us a little bit more information. So if you want to comment below and tell me, when you rewrite your question, just let me know that you're talking about Saturn square sun. And Jupiter and Libra, you can make money through Libra-like things. Okay, so anything that is Libra-esque, so beauty, fashion, law. It can also, I don't know why I wanted to say entertainment, so maybe you're interested in that. Also, Jupiter and Libra can make money through business as well. Okay, negotiations. Libra's good at negotiating. It could be like wedding planning, anything to do with weddings, because Libra loves love. So you'll see them in like, you know, like videography, for example, or you'll see them in like maybe like bridal makeup or just wedding planning overall. You can make money through all these types of things. So yes, today is the 12/12 portal. The energy is amplified. So yes, I will get to all of your questions. I just go in order. Okay, so the 12/12 portal, I don't know, I haven't thought too much about it. I like the portal days, I do. Depends which one it is. Some of them I don't pay attention to. 12/12 I like, I don't know, the vibe feels nice about it. It's 3 when you reduce it down, so that's speaking and communication, which is interesting because it's like we're in Sag season as well. It's the end of the year. We're probably wrapping things up during this particular portal, but that's pretty much it. As far as like what I've thought about it, let's see. You have Jupiter in Scorpio in the 12th house, and you work in addiction recovery, and you're in recovery yourself. You feel like you've truly found your path. Any advice on staying grounded? LOL. Okay, so grounded in what way? So here's the thing. It's so interesting because it really depends. It's hard to say because when we look at like addiction, for example, it kind of depends to see like what is the root of it, right? Is it a form of escapism? Is it, and like my disclaimer as usual, you guys, I'm not a psychologist or medical practitioner or any of these things, I have to say it, but yes. So that's the thing, it depends what's happening energetically, again, behind the scenes, like where is this coming from? Or did it start from boredom and then it turned into a habit? Is it this, right? So to stay grounded, right, you kind of honestly, like I actually have a video for 12 house people coming out that's probably not gonna be for a while about how to stay grounded, and it's just like my own like findings up until this point. Because to stay grounded personally, like I feel like if you find something that you love to do and you love to do that thing and it gives you like a reason, like, you know, like a purpose, like that more than anything is going to help you stay grounded. You can do other things. You can do exercise. You can kind of like interact with the physical plane more. But I feel like a lot of things at the end of the day come back down to like love and connection. And like when people feel disconnected right? That's kind of when you might go into isolation, and then it might kind of take you into like darker and darker energies, right? So it's like if you kind of feel yourself being pulled in that direction, make sure to like maybe nip it in the bud to stay grounded, right? So like do things that you love, maybe join certain kind of activities, anywhere where you can meet people, these types of things, socializing. I think all of that is going to help. But at the end of the day, I really feel like if you're just doing something that you love and it gives you that sense of purpose, it's going to help you more than anything. I hope that helps. I go off of tropical astrology. You said empathizing. You're welcome. Empathizing deeply, and it's the Placidus system. So Placidus tropical astrology. Empathizing deeply with suffering without actually suffering. Yeah, sometimes I feel like also like through life, like we do things, like I see things sometimes as like energetic tasks, and we are always trying to learn ourselves through that thing, if that makes sense, you know? So everything that we're doing in a way is like we're always trying to learn more about ourselves or heal ourselves or whatever it is. It's really, really interesting, but it always comes back down to the self. So it's like you always kind of want to bring the energy back to you, like what am I learning about myself in this particular situation? Angelina, you said, is there something that you're supposed to be doing spiritually with like the 12/12 portal? I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't really follow it as much anymore. I have my favorite portal days. I like 8/8. That's one of my favorite portals. I like, it's interesting. I was going to say 10/10, but I actually want to say 11/11. I don't know. I just like the vibes for the end of the year because it's more like in like the spiritual planes, I guess you can say. Like I kind of find when we go from Scorpio onwards, well, Leo was kind of like an honorary member in there because 8/8 is during Leo season, and I love Leo season. But yeah, so 12/12, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I like the vibe. Like I like the overall idea when we're on like a double day, but I haven't really thought too much about it. Like kind of depends what you want to do, what resonates with you. I used to follow that stuff a little bit more back in the day. These days I acknowledge it. Like me and my friends just send each other messages, happy 12/12, and we kind of just like leave it at that. Let's see what else you guys doing in here. Yay, Jessica, I'm glad that you caught this as well. You said, okay, you want to talk about Mars, DK, conjunction, Keto, 8th house. Are you talking about K2? 8th house for Gemini, ascendant, Libra moon, Jupiter, Saturn in the 4th house, Sun, Mercury in the 7th, Mercury Mahadasha. Okay, I don't look at Vedic astrology, unfortunately, but what I will say to you about what I've seen in here, you have Jupiter and Saturn in the 4th house. So that's karma around the home. And then you have Mercury in the 7th house. Mercury in the 7th house can be really good at business. They can be really, really good at negotiations. Let's see. You said, okay, Carla says, also your moon and Jupiter are exactly conjunct. And then you said both 2 degrees Sag, and Uranus is at 7 degrees Sag. That conjunction always seemed wacky to you. And then you said you'd love my perspective. Hold on a second. You have moon and Jupiter and they're exactly conjunct. Okay, so that's making money through your emotional world. So maybe you'll be interested in art or something of that sort. And then you said both 2 degrees Sag and Uranus as at 7 degrees Sag. So can you tell me, is Uranus aspecting all of this? Because if Uranus is aspecting all of this, like that's going to be a completely different story because that's going to make you super, super ahead of your time. Hey, welcome. You said Saturn sitting on his butt on exactly your ascendant 1 degree Pisces. You said, please help. You said Saturn. So is all of that in Pisces for you? Can you confirm? Okay, that's so funny, Kitty. You answered way before I even read your question. You said sent too soon. Saturn and Jupiter conjunct in Libra. Saturn squares Sun in Capricorn. Saturn is squaring Sun. Hold on. You said Saturn and Jupiter conjunct in Libra. Is Libra Saturn? And then squaring. So that's squaring your Sun in Capricorn. That's really interesting. So that's, again, the friction with the dad. Let's see. Or dominant masculine role in your life. And then you have Saturn and Jupiter is conjunct. I find Saturn and Jupiter conjunct really interesting because it's like Jupiter wants to expand, Saturn restricts. So sometimes you kind of feel like it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I will say that the energy will stabilize the older that you get. Hey, Westies, how are you doing? You said Aries rising, Aquarius sun, Gemini moon, MC, so midheaven, and Saturn, Mercury, Uranus, Neptune, and Capricorn. That's all in Capricorn for you and your midheaven. And is that all in the 10th house? Can you let me know? You have Moon and Scorpio conjunct Pluto. Thoughts on this? Yes, that's going to be power struggles with women or people who are in the feminine energy, and usually starts with a mother, and it's usually anything that's happening on an emotional basis. So a lot of the time with Moon conjunct Pluto, like these people are seeking power and control. And it's interesting because it's that feminine energy, right? So Moon in Scorpio overall, you might struggle with emotional unavailability. So the mother could have been emotionally unavailable. You yourself could have been emotionally unavailable. Or you might be attracted to emotionally unavailable people. Okay, so that's something that's taking place for Moon in Scorpio. And then conjunct Pluto, yes, this particular placement is always seeking power and control. A lot of the time for Moon in Scorpio, it deals with covert emotional manipulation. So it's hidden, okay? It's emotional manipulation that you wouldn't be able to pinpoint. Sometimes it's the energy behind like what the person is saying. Maybe they made you feel bad in one way, shape, or form. Like you'd really have to get like to the root of like the feeling within the body to know when someone is manipulating you. So that's kind of like Moon and Scorpio, especially conjuncting Pluto. You said Uranus is also conjunct. Yeah, okay, so let me just go back up here to see what you were saying when I asked you that. You said Moon. So Moon, Jupiter, and Uranus is all conjunct. That's going to give you, so okay, Moon conjunct Uranus is like, it kind of gives you undertones of Aquarius in there. You know what I mean? Like it's going to make you a little bit more different when it comes to your emotional world, a little bit more detached, a little bit more futuristic. You could also be the type of person who's like, you know, okay with being, let's say like in a relationship that is a little bit, you know, more separate, right? Like you do you and I'm going to do me. Like this type of energy could manifest into like, you know, like you live in your house, I'll live in mine, you know, and we'll see each other when we see each other, right? So that's kind of like Moon because it's on your emotional, it's on the emotional level. You need that freedom, especially because you have it in Sag, right? So Sag really needs freedom when it's in the Moon. So it doesn't mean you can't be in relationships. You just need someone to understand this about you, that you need that emotional freedom. Like you seek freedom on an emotional level. So this is also going to be in your jobs. So let's say you're in a job and that job is like suffocating you, where it's like, you know, you have to clock in exactly at this time. And if you don't clock in, someone's micromanaging you. Like that's not going to work. You're probably going to leave, right? So you need, let's say, a job that gives you a little bit more freedom. Okay, you know, it's okay if you come in a little bit late today. Like no one's going to say anything and it doesn't have to be exactly like this. Maybe you'll stay a little bit longer another day. So you need that emotional freedom. It's on an emotional level, okay? Then Jupiter conjunct Uranus. This is unconventional ways of making money. Also, if you're looking for a husband or if you're into men, well, in that case, you know, your husband could be someone that's unconventional. You could meet this person maybe potentially on the internet, or it could just be an unconventional type of dynamic with this individual as well. You said people think you said very true. People think you're weird for that. Oh my gosh, which part? You said, I'm going to get back up to everyone. You just were responding to me earlier. You said Capricorn, Uranus, 9th house, Saturn, Neptune, 10th. And you said Mercury, Sun, Venus, 11th, but Venus and Sun in Aquarius. So you're in that spiritual quadrant. You have Neptune in the 10th, Saturn is in the 10th as well. Saturn in the 10th can be a wealth placement, but Neptune is blurring that area for you. A lot of time, okay, so for people who have Neptune in the 12th, or sorry, Neptune in the 10th house, what I've noticed for them, because it's opposing your 4th house, okay, your IC, usually what happens for these people, there's influences within the home and the parents and maybe the upbringing that are affecting your career and your public image and your public life. So you might have to break through that. So like, let's say, you know, maybe the family kind of put into your mind to be a certain, you know, type of job or do a certain type of job. Maybe, I don't know, I always give the random example of a bus driver. I don't want to always give the same example like that everyone says, like doctor, lawyer, whatever the job is, right? Let's say it's a retail worker, or let's say it is, I don't know, some sort of job of this sort, right? I'm sure you guys catch my drift. So let's say the parents planted that, or like there's an expectation, right? Especially because you also have Saturn in there, so it could come from the father. So let's say they planted this expectation, but maybe you want to do something different, right? So you're kind of breaking through this. And that's also what's blurring the Neptune in the 10th, because it's kind of creating this uncertainty within. Now you have Capricorn, Uranus in the 9th. So that's like futuristic, like philosophies and ideas. You're going to be ahead of your time in that area. You have Aries rising. Can you tell me when you have Aries rising? Oh my gosh, you're so funny, Manny. Yes, you too, fam. You guys are the realest though. Yes. I came here from TikTok. So yes, next time I'm going to put a little, what's that thing? Like the schedule. I'll schedule it so you guys know. But thank you. You guys are so real. Make sure you guys like the live. And thank you always for your likes, shares, and subscribes and your questions. So yes, that's the overall vibe, okay? And then you said you have Mercury, Sun, Venus in the 11th. Yeah, you're super futuristic and ahead of your time. Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. Let me know. I'm curious. It's just for my own curiosity. Let me know, West End, if you have any retrogrades in your natal chart. North Node, South Node are always retrograde, but can you tell me if you have any other retrograde placements? Because you're in Aries rising. That's just like for my own internal database. You said you're okay. You and your husband have your own places. Yes, I knew it. I knew I was picking up on something. Oh, I love it when you guys confirm what I'm picking up on. Yes, that's the vibe. Like it's something that's quote unquote unconventional, but I don't think it's unconventional. I just think it's where the collective is heading. Okay, so it's this. He said you also don't care for people micromanaging you. You work for yourself. Good. You do have very unconventional ways of making money. That's that Uranus aspecting your Jupiter. And yes, Sagittarius is going to want to work for themselves. Okay. So out of all the placements, okay, different placements are going to have different desires to work for themselves. Okay. The fire signs are all entrepreneurial in their own way. Aries wants to be a leader. So they want to be number one. They want to be the best. They want to start something. Now for Aries people, Aries dominant people, if you do want to have your own business, my recommendation is to kind of have a team that you're working with, even though you probably might not want to, because you're going to want, like, you know, you being number one, you being the best. But regardless, when you have a team or you're managing a team, well, then, you know, you start the task. So you think of the idea and then you kind of delegate. Okay. So Aries is going to be good in these types of areas. Now, it doesn't mean that's the only thing. Aries can also be good athletes. Absolutely. The fire signs can be good athletes, but we're talking about business here for now. Okay. That's Aries. Leo also is going to be interested in entrepreneurship. I've noticed for them it's more so for the pride and glory. So they need to be the face of the company. So you can't do anything where you're hiding in the background. Like you need to be up there talking about the company, giving the presentations. That's Leo, okay? If you're interested in having your business. Sag wants the freedom, okay? So that's why Sag is interested in entrepreneurship. And out of Sag, we're going to Capricorn. So there's that. Capricorn overall is going to work hard. They're probably going to have the really good, you know, business skills overall. So that's Capricorn in terms of entrepreneurship. The cardinal signs are all going to be good at starting something. So they could be good in business for different ways. Obviously depends on the combinations in your natal chart, but those are kind of like the main ones. The fire signs, and I'll put Capricorn in there. Hey everyone, welcome. Oh my gosh, you guys are awesome. I'm just going back up just in case I miss anyone. Oh my gosh, you're born on 11/1. I love that. Let's see, where was I? Thoughts on Scorpio moon, 7th house, and Aquarius moon, but in the 8th house along together. So are these two people dating? Is that what you're asking? Let me know. If you do retype your question, can you type it all together again at the bottom? Let's see. You said when we asked, okay, I answered that one. You said you have Jupiter, Saturn conjunct as well, 4th house, Gemini, ascendant, Mercury, and Sun in the 7th. Everyone says this period should be great. LOL, not so much you lost your job, you had to relocate. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that. But what do you have your Saturn in? What sign? Are you going through your Saturn return? Are you going through your Saturn return? Can you confirm? Because that's actually a thing that happens for Saturn transiting through the 4th house. Let's see. You're welcome. Send you guys love as well. How are you guys? Let's see. I know, Angelina, I like called you in because I thought of you. I know you love Selena. So I always associate her with you. So I'm glad that you enjoyed that video. Make sure you guys, if you haven't checked out my video on the Selena Quintanilla natal chart reading, check it out. And it's on my second YouTube channel called Barbara Talks Some More. And make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Hey, Two Songs, how are you doing? Make sure you guys like the live. Shay says, hello, could you help me with North Node and Leo in the 8th house? You're struggling with direction right now. I'm curious to know if you have 8th house overall if you have Leo occupying the 8th house overall, because that's a little bit of a struggle because Leo wants to be seen, the 8th house wants to be hidden. So there's this. So, okay, for North Node, you guys can look at the North Node as something you guys are working toward, okay? So they say that once we complete the North Node, we cross out of the Earth plane. So it's something that you're constantly working toward. So it's this. Then you want to look at your South Node to understand the North Node. So what's going on with the South Node? So your South Node would be in Aquarius and it would be in the 2nd house. So in a past life, okay, or things you could have learned in a past life and these types of things could have been anything that was Aquarius-like. So maybe you were like an inventor and you really mastered like wealth, for example. You come through in this lifetime, let's say that part is already mastered. Maybe you don't worry about money so much. Maybe now you're more into like esoteric things, or maybe you're more into like energy work, or, you know, now it's other people's money as well with the 8th house. A lot of the time when I see either Scorpio or the 8th house in the North Node, this says to me that this person is transmuting something. You're working with energy in this lifetime, basically, okay? So what energy are you working with? I mean, it's going to be different things, right? Maybe it's the energy of money. Maybe you are helping people transform. Maybe you yourself are transforming something, whatever it is. It's in Leo though, so it's going to be something creative. So you need to be seen creatively. So something you might have to break through could be maybe wanting to hide, because the A house wants to hide. So keep this in mind, because Leo wants to be seen, A house wants to hide. Hey Kelly, how are you doing? You said, I'll get back up to everyone in just a second. You said you have Venus and Jupiter conjunction in Cancer in the first house. In the first house, Gemini, Sun, Scorpio, Moon, you're thinking about starting your own property management business. And then you said was there more? Let me know if there was more. And also I'm curious to know what's going on with your fourth house. Let's see, what else are you guys saying up here? We did these ones. Oh my gosh, you're going through your Saturn return. Let me go back up and see what you said. You said Saturn, and then it's on your ascendant, and you're going through your Saturn return. Oh my gosh, so you're probably going through a lot of changes of the self during this time. It's going to affect your relationship as well. Keep this in mind. So that's another thing you guys want to look at when you're going through your Saturn return. You want to see what's going on with the oppositional energy, okay? So the other person, one of you guys was talking about having your Saturn in the fourth house. I don't know if you're going through your Saturn return. But what happens for people when they go through their Saturn return in the fourth house, something always happens with their job or their money or their finances or their career, because it's the 10th house. So it's opposing, okay? It's opposing your 10th house. So something gets shaken up over here where it's like maybe you have to move back with your parents, for example, or maybe you have to relocate, for example. I'm not trying to speak things into existence for people. It could be softer than this, but I'm kind of giving you guys an example of how the energy can manifest. So when you're going through the Saturn return in the first house, now your relationships are also being shaken up because it's the oppositional energy. So the 7th house is also being shaken up. So you guys can also look at Saturn as like putting an energetic hold until you resolve something karmically and you kind of move on. So Saturn kind of lets you continue. So for example, let's say for the Saturn in the 4th house example, Saturn is kind of keeping this hold on the 4th house for now. Let's say you're going through your Saturn return in the 4th house, or even a Saturn transit in the 4th house. It's affecting your job. It's affecting your career. It's affecting your money. So you're in this hold until you resolve something that's 4th house like. It could be a lot of different things. Maybe it's the dynamic with the mother, the dynamic with the home. It could be the dynamic with the parents. Sometimes it could be elderly, like elderly grandparents, for example. Like let's say they raised you. That's sometimes things that can happen for Saturn in the 4th house as well. So these things are kind of being resolved. So because this is kind of taking place, it's kind of, you know, putting the hold on this area as well. So you can kind of look at it this way as well. So same thing, when it's in the first, yes, you're going through changes of the self and the identity, but it's almost like it's through your relationships, if that makes sense. Let's see. Okay, you said you have South Node. You said you have South Node and the 4th house. Let me see. Okay, and you had 4th house in there somewhere. So your South Node is conjuncting your IC. Let's see. And you were asking about the property management business. I mean, that's all 4th house types of things. That's all 4th house types of things. Let's see. You said Gemini, Sun, Scorpio, Moon. Cancer in the 1st house. Cancer is always a good manager. So the energy is positive in that sense. Jupiter is going to expand Cancerian types of things around the home. I can see that as well. Gemini Sun, Gemini is also good because they're friendly, likable, and then Scorpio Moon wants the money, they want like the power. So, I mean, I don't see it going in a bad direction. If, you know, listen, this is what I'm going to say to you guys. If you guys are being pulled in a direction to do something, just do that thing and see. Do you know what I mean? Like that's all that we can really do at the end of the day. It's better to do it that way rather than like think about it, should I, shouldn't I, and then not do it. And then later on be like, what would have happened if I did that thing? I don't know. That's kind of how I see things. I also have a lot of Scorpio placements. So when I'm personally making decisions, I always see what is the outcome of the decision I'm going to make. And am I okay with that outcome? So I'm going to think of like the different potential outcomes, right? If I make this decision, if I go to the store today, okay, I can do this. And then this might happen, and then that might happen. Okay, am I okay with this outcome taking place? You know what I mean? And then I kind of make my decision based on that. Let's see, what else are you guys saying here? Welcome. I'll get to you guys in just a second. I'm just going back up. Let's see. Mars, Saturn, Pluto, Scorpio. So it's all in Scorpio in the 4th house. Mars, Saturn, and Pluto. That is power struggles with men or people of the masculine energy, usually starting with the father. So the father could have been intense. Maybe he was aggressive in one way, shape, or form. And then it's in the 4th house as well. The 4th house is the home. So that's karma surrounding the home. And all of this is now affecting your 10th house. So everything that I was saying to the person earlier about that 4th house, 10th house axis is going to apply to you just in a different way. So we always want to look to see what's going on with the 4th house, 10th house. I have a video on that on my YouTube channel. It's called The Importance of the 4th house. So when I see people with a lot of 4th house energy, they're clearing up a lot of things to do with the home, maybe even generationally, and it's affecting your 10th house, so it's affecting your career, it's affecting your public image. So sometimes the energy keeps you in that hold until you start to blossom in your career, for example. So maybe there's karma here to do with authority. Also, for example, that could be holding you back from your career. And it's related to the home. Scorpio 4th house is like having a Scorpio moon undertone, okay? So when we look at moon signs, so here's another thing you guys want to see. When you look at the moon in your natal chart, okay? When you look at the moon, you want to see what's going on with your 4th house as well, because that's going to tell you how the moon is operating. It's going to give you the undertone energy. So when you have a Scorpio 4th house, now you have the undertones of having a Scorpio moon. So the home, there's always something here that was either hidden within the home, things that you didn't see clearly. Usually something takes place where it's like the outer reality isn't matching your inner reality, and that's kind of what makes you intuitive and psychic, if that makes sense, because it's like whatever you're feeling isn't matching. So for example, maybe the parents struggled with money and they didn't want to tell you, but you felt it, if that makes sense, right? So that's kind of how Scorpio starts to be like very weary of everyone, because it starts there, especially when you have it in the Scorpio moon. There's something there that's taking place that, you know, isn't matching what you're picking up on. So that's kind of how the psychic gifts and abilities really do come online. And then when you're in the shadow of Scorpio, you'll go into the paranoia and all these things that people talk about. Yes, until you transmute that and go into the divine version of Scorpio. So having this particular conjunction, there's here like transformation through the masculine, through your own internal masculine energy within. Now, it's interesting because Mars in the 4th house isn't necessarily the most go-getting type of placement. It's more subdued because it's giving you the Cancerian undertones. So you might have to work a little harder to go after your goals, for example, because it's still pulling you. The conjunction is pulling you to want power and control because of the Pluto, and because of Saturn is going to be over an extended period of time. You're kind of clearing this energy. I hope that makes sense. Hey, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm sending you guys love energy as well. I'm just going in order, so I will get to all of you guys. I'm just going back up to where I was. Jupiter and Saturn in the 10th house in Taurus. Saturn ruler in the 7th house and Jupiter ruler in the 6th house. Those are wealth placements. But Jupiter and Saturn, I don't know what to say. Like, Jupiter and Saturn is such an interesting conjunction because it's like Jupiter is expanding, Saturn is restricting. So I feel like it's something that over an extended period of time, you're going to kind of activate more of the Jupiter energy while Saturn subsides. I hope that makes sense. Hey Eva, how are you doing? You said if you have Venus in the 12th house, but it's conjuncting the ascendant, is the energy in the 1st house or is it in the 12th house? Your Venus is still in the 12th, but it gives you a Venusian undertone, if that makes sense, right? So the way you present yourself is Venusian. So for example, you could be just attractive, like, you know, it could be the vibe, right? Maybe it's the way that you dress, maybe it's the way that you present yourself. Like, there's something Venusian about you when you have that particular placement. But Venus in the 12th house, you're clearing karma and closing out karma when it comes to relationships. Hey Angelina, you said Scorpio sun, Capricorn rising, and Aquarius moon, very ahead of your time. You could be psychic, you could be a medium. Capricorn rising is grounding you though in this earth plane. Cholo says North Node in Libra in the 10th house. You don't understand what that entails in your chart. So, okay, when you have your North Node in the 10th house, this is an interesting because, okay, when you have North Node in the 10th, your South Node is in the 4th. So your past life maybe was more homey. Your South Node would have been in Aries. So maybe it was more about the home. Maybe it was more about the family. Maybe you focused more about like something. Maybe you're starting a business. Maybe it's a niche that you're in. Whatever it is. Sometimes 10th house people become known in their niche as well, okay? So it could be this. So it depends on your whole chart. But the overall life purpose is something that's Libra-esque. So it's going to be something to do maybe with law, maybe you become a lawyer with that, and maybe you become like a public like lawyer. Maybe you have your own company, maybe you practice like, you know, within your town, people really know you, maybe you're really successful. It could be this, it could be fashion, it could be beauty, it could be makeup, it could be weddings, wedding planning. That's all Libra types of things. Negotiations as well. So it could be this. So all these things are part of your life purpose. So you can kind of look at it as you're working toward that. So when you kind of feel yourself falling more into like maybe wanting to just like chill and be at home, well, in that case, that is your south node that's pulling you. Now, what I will say with this whole situation is there's karma with the home and the family that's being carried over into this particular lifetime because it's now conjuncting your IC that's in the way of the midheaven, okay? So there could be belief systems within the home. There could be maybe certain things that took place. If it is Aries, that's in your 4th house, maybe the home was narcissistic, usually male dominated. When you have Aries on the IC, it could have been maybe like a headbutting type of energy, like, you know, fighting for who's going to be the head of the house. It could have been very masculine in this way. So keep in mind, that could now be like maybe certain belief systems you've developed are holding you back from the midheaven and the north node, okay? Because that's that 10th house, 4th house access. There's always karma around the home. Hey, how are you guys doing? You said you struggle with all males in your life. Yeah, okay, that's that power struggle. It's the Mars conjunct Saturn conjunct Pluto. That's power struggles. Anytime you guys have a Pluto conjunction or aspect, it's power struggles. So if it's Moon, Venus, and Pluto, it's with women or people out of the feminine energy. Usually starts with a mother, and then it's going to be the managers. It's going to be whoever it is that's like in your day-to-day when it's Moon conjunct Venus conjunct Pluto, okay? It could be your friends, it could be your lovers, like whoever it is, right? But people who are predominantly operating out of the feminine energy, usually traditionally in astrology, women, but it could be people who are overall out of that feminine energy, right? Also, same thing. So that's that particular conjunction. And then another one, yes, is that one that we just talked about, is Mars conjunct Saturn conjunct Pluto. Hey, welcome. You said your 4th house, 10th house is Cancer, Capricorn. What would you like to know about that? I'm just going back up. I don't teach. I mean, I kind of see my videos as teaching in a way. So you guys can watch my videos. If you guys want to learn more about astrology, you can look at all the placements. But I don't teach it in like a class or like a course or anything of that sort. But I do Placidus Western astrology. I don't do Vedic, not for now at least. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. Yeah, I'm glad that you're enjoying my lives. I know I love coming on live. I love talking to you guys and seeing what kind of questions you guys have. Make sure you guys like the video. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? 12th house. You guys are so funny. 12th house sun. So 12th house Libra sun, 8th house Gemini moon, 4th house Jupiter and Saturn Capricorn. Okay, so every time I do a live, there's a theme. I'm sure if you guys have heard like the previous lives that I've posted. So today's theme is Jupiter conjunct Saturn. That's the theme in today's live. Okay, so for you, 2 songs, the first thing, as soon as I read all of that, that's all karma, that's all generational stuff. So a lot of the stuff that you've incarnated into is generational things. 4th house, 8th house, 12th house. So you're clearing things within the family line. 8th house is usually going to be something that's hidden or covert, something maybe that you've internalized, maybe it's a pattern, an addiction, like these types of things, okay? So that's that, and then you have it in the moon, okay? And then 12th house Libra sun wants to be seen, right? So maybe you've progressed out of that already, but usually what happens for like 8th house people, 12th house sun people, the earlier part of their life, they're hidden. So they're hidden, you kind of feel invisibilized. Maybe the family doesn't notice you, maybe you were just more quiet, maybe you were just like more in your daydreaming world, like whatever it is. So that's 12th house sun, okay? And it's the sun wants to shine. So it's like later you progress, right? You come out of the 12th house sun and you go into 1st house sun. And it's like almost like all of this time that was lost of not being seen, you're like, now you're all gonna see me, right? That's that 1st house sun. So there's this. 4th house Jupiter, you can make money through like real estate, property types of things. You can also make money through anything that is like interior design, these types of things. Yeah, so what would you like to know about your secondary progressions if you're still in the room? Saggy sun and rising, I love Sag energy, and you have a Capricorn moon, anything regarding career and romance. I have to look at your whole chart to see more so what's going on with the combinations of all of the placements, like all of the houses, you have a stellium, all these types of things. But right off the bat, Sag wants freedom, Okay, so I'll say that Capricorn moon is going to be good at business. Okay, so you might be interested in starting some sort of business. With Sag, it's something probably where you need to move around. So maybe you'll be interested in like a blog or like a travel blog or these types of things, okay? But that energy needs to be free. Sag needs to be able to move around, and the Capricorn moon will ground you a little bit. So maybe in the earlier part of your life, you'll maybe, you know, work really hard, save up a lot of money, and then start your own business, for example. Something like this. It could be this. Romance, Sag needs freedom. Okay, so again, Sag needs freedom. So they need to be with people who allow them to be free. So what does this mean? I don't have to see you all the time. I'll see you when I see you. I still want to have my own life going on. We don't have to hang out 24/7, do everything together. That's Sag. So if you can find people that allow you to be free, well, that's like a match made in heaven, right? People who understand this about you. You always cut to the chase. Yeah, I don't have time to waste. I hate also like when I watch things and the person's talking and I'm like, can we get to the point? Like, let's get to it, you know? So that's why when I make my videos, it's like boom, boom, boom. Like, let's get straight to the point. And it's funny because some of my earlier videos, I'm like, is this too short? Like some of my, like, I think it was my Lilith series, like it was like 4 minutes, but I'm like, I don't have anything else to say. I don't have to like, you know, sometimes I feel like people talk a lot because maybe they're trying to show how much they know, but I don't have time for that. You know what I mean? So I'll get to the point, I'll give the information, and then I have something else that I need to do. Hey, Carrie, how are you doing? I'm just going back up. Let's see what you were asking. I'm still going in order. Hold on a second. Saturn retrograde in the 11th house and moon is in Aquarius. Is your Saturn also in Aquarius? Saturn retrograde is an absence of a father figure early on in life. You said your knowledge is that deep. What retrograde could be other than, oh, okay. I don't know if you're still in the room, but usually when you look at your natal charts, okay, beside the planet, you're going to see a little R, and that's how you'll know that it's retrograde. Let's see. 4th house retrograde, Saturn and Capricorn conjunct Jupiter and Capricorn. Saturn is mean. Yeah, Saturn is hardcore. This earth is ruled by Saturn. That's my theory. Like, nobody can convince me otherwise. After the time that I've been down here, yeah, it's very Saturnian down here. So everything takes time, hard work, and effort. That's the earth plane. So it just is what it is. And also, like, because of astrology, it's like, nothing's ever going to happen like a second before it's meant to. It's really, really interesting to see. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. Because there's like a certain arrangement of events. You said Mars in Cancer in the 2nd house, square Saturn and Pluto in Libra. Okay, so that's another one of those power and control placements, okay? So usually with men, usually with the father figure when you're growing up, if it's not the father figure, dominant masculine role in your life. And then eventually it's going to be your authorities, it's going to be your managers, your teachers, whoever, okay? So Saturn in the 5th house, you know, it's interesting. These people, the karma with these people is really interesting because either Saturn in the 5th house, people have a kid when they're really young, and then that's kind of like the karma, right? Like they're resolving karma through the child. Sometimes the child is tying them to the other person that they're actually resolving karma through. So there's this. So it could be this, or you have a child around your Saturn return, or it's after the age of 35, or you could also have children far apart. So maybe you have one when you're really young and then you have one way later. So that's kind of like Saturn in the 5th house. Or you don't have children at all, actually. It could also manifest that way as well. Mars in Cancer is a little bit of a struggle. You have to work a little bit harder when it comes to going after goals and goal setting, because you're going to be more in the feeling. And this earth plane doesn't reward chilling. Do you know what I mean? Which is Mars in Cancer. Mars in Cancer wants to chill. Like they want to be like, today I don't feel like it. I'm going to do it tomorrow. So for Mars in Cancer, look at how Mars in Capricorn operates and basically try to like take on some of those traits, because that's basically what's going to help you. Otherwise, it's like a lot of repression, a lot of suppression of energy, Mars in Cancer. It's not that it's like, I don't know, I don't see things as good or bad. It's just like the energy that we have in our natal charts. You know what I mean? So when you have Mars in Cancer, it's like, you know, it's very subdued. That's the word. Like, you know, chilling. Like you just want to chill and you want to go with the vibes, and sometimes time passes, you know, and especially when it comes to Mars, like Mars wants to go and Mars has goals, but Cancer could be pulling you into this other direction. So just seeing how you can work with the energy is really what that is. Okay, Angelina, you said part of fortune. What do you have your part of fortune in? I think you messaged down there. I'll get to it in just a second. Taurus, Mars, Jupiter's 2nd house, Scorpio, Pluto, North Node, and Pisces. Part of fortune, 9th house in Gemini. You can make money through part of fortune. I think I have videos. I think I have it under a playlist, part of fortune. I did do part of fortune though. So part of fortune and Gemini, and it's in the 9th house. So these are ways you can make money. So you can make money through Gemini-like things. So when you basically engage in that world, you activate abundance for yourself. So when you're talking, when you're speaking, when you're writing, when you're maybe using social media, you can activate abundance through these things. 9th house is the higher mind. So maybe you use social media to share some sort of philosophy. That's how you bring through abundance. For example, it could be this. Aquarius 5th house. Yes, absolutely. So that's something you guys can look at. Okay, so for children in your natal chart. Okay, so for children in your natal chart, this is what you guys can do. I have a video on this as well, okay, on my YouTube channel. Oh, you guys are actually on my YouTube channel. I'm so used to saying that from the TikTok page. But if you go under the miscellaneous, playlist, I have a video on what kind of children would you have, okay? So you look at your 5th house. You look at your 5th house. That's the first child and the undertone of the rest of the children. Then if you have 2 kids, you're gonna look at the 5th house and the 7th house. If you have 3 kids, 5th house and the 9th house. I'm sure you guys catch the pattern. So that's gonna give you the vibe of the kids. But all of the kids are gonna have the 5th house undertone. So the first one's gonna be the most in that energy, and then the energy is gonna continue. Let's see what else you guys saying here. You're welcome. You said in synastry, one has Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Venus, and Mars, and the other has 8th house in Scorpio. Is this safe? You guys are so funny. You guys kill me. Okay, honestly, I don't know what to say. Scorpio energy, here's what I will say about Scorpio. Scorpio people are always going to be with other Scorpio people, and there's always going to be Scorpio placements. Like there's always Scorpio synastry going on because a Scorpio person requires depth, so they can't be with someone who doesn't have at least one Scorpio placement. Do you know what I mean? So it depends how evolved the 2 people are, is really what that is. Because it's like, if they're not evolved, it could be a lot of ego struggles, it could be a lot of power struggles, it could be possessiveness, it could be codependency, it could be intense, but if both are like evolved, then it could be awesome. You guys can manifest together, you guys can investigate things together, you guys can talk about deep things together, you know? So it depends how evolved the 2 people are. Oh my gosh, okay, so that's another theme. Okay, K10, you're also talking about Saturn, Pluto, and Mars. It's not that, okay, it's interesting you said, because you said it seems like they only get hate. I don't know what to say because I personally am, I'm Moon dominant, Pluto dominant, and Saturn dominant. So those are my energies. So I don't know what to say because I'm used to the energy. I think other people aren't used to it because it's like the energies are intense overall. So Mars, I mean, Mars is fiery, right? So Mars is how you go about getting things. It depends on what combination. If you're talking about all of those being conjunct, I mean, that's intense. That's intense, yes. Saturn is karma, and Pluto is the god of the underworld. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Like Mars is fiery, Pluto is like psychological damage sometimes. So if people aren't used to the energy, I can see why they fear it. But if you're used to the energy, I mean, you just kind of like sit back and watch the rest of the people argue over it, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, Oyos, let me just see what you were saying. Let me just see what you were saying because you're asking if I saw your message. You said your sun is progressing into Pisces right now with transit Saturn at 0 degrees. What is the significance? Your Saturn is progressing into Pisces. You might be more creative during this time. At the same time, Venus is progressing into Aquarius, same time as the Pluto ingress. Okay, so your Venus is going into Aquarius, so you might be a little bit more detached when it comes to relationships in the next era of your life. Sun in Pisces, you might be more creative, but definitely watch out for like escapism and these types of things. What can I say about your career life? You're a Capricorn rising with ruler in Aries, a retrograde in the 3rd house. You have midheaven in Scorpio with Venus in Libra, Mars in Scorpio, and Pluto and Sag conjunct your Pluto and Sag conjunct your midheaven. Okay, that is a lot. But first thing I thought of for you was actually astrology, interestingly enough. But maybe you're going to be interested in like the occult. It's going to have to be something to do with speaking for sure because of the 3rd house. You do have it retrograde. Okay, you said Aries retrograde, but what's retrograde in there? Oh, you said Capricorn ruler with an Aries retrograde. What's retrograde? Can you tell me what's retrograde? Your midheaven in, okay, so midheaven and Scorpio is so interesting. I said this in the Selena video that I posted today, so check that out if you guys are interested. It's my 2nd channel called Barbara Talks Some More, because I could talk for days. I just have so much to say. So that's my 2nd channel, okay? So midheaven in Scorpio, these people are transmuting like they're transmuting basically things for other people is really what that is. So that's kind of like your career / public image. So when you have midheaven and Scorpio, it's going to be really important to kind of ground your energy in a way that, let's say like when you're posting online, for example, like if you're posting everything, right, and your energy is scattered, you have a lot of people connecting to your energy, right? So you might get drained. But if you kind of streamline that energy and you kind of go into like a niche, let's say you just post about, I don't know, painting, or you post about some kind of crafts, you're streamlining the energy and then you're transmuting in that particular area, if that makes sense. And then you're also going to go through a lot of changes when it comes to your career. But overall, you're going to be interested in things that have like a little bit more of a darker undertone. And it could also be like true crime, for example. Mars and Scorpio. Here's the thing. What I'll tell you guys about Scorpio energy is like, I see Scorpio as an additional energy. Okay, because Scorpio ultimately seeking power and control is really what that is. So with that being said, it doesn't really matter what they do. Like I've seen politicians have Scorpio in their chart. I've seen actors and actresses have Scorpio. So I see it as kind of like an amplifier. So when you have Mars and Scorpio especially, like it's definitely going to amplify, let's say, your manifestations, like whatever you're trying to do, especially if you learn how to work with sexual energy. Let's see. You're welcome. Oh, yay. I'm so glad that you can. I love that. You said you could listen to me for days. That's awesome because I can talk for days. So it's like a match made in heaven. You guys are awesome. I'm sending you guys the love energy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You said, would the beauty industry be good for a Libra midheaven? Absolutely. Why not? You said with Venus, Virgo in the 9th house, you said you don't know how to incorporate the 9th house besides advertising online. Venus, Virgo, 9th house. I mean, that's about higher minds, higher philosophies. I can see you coming up with something that's like, I don't know, like let's say you come up with some sort of like hair routine and now this is like your philosophy. Do you know what I mean? Like, because the 9th house is philosophies and belief systems, and usually something that they kind of come to their own conclusions. So it could be something like this, right? You could use it in this way. Venus and Virgo, here's the thing, like Venus and Virgo in terms of relationships, they can be critical, but in terms of like getting money, you're going to be good at it, right? Because it's like the plane is Virgo-like, you know? So practice makes perfect. Having a routine, having a schedule. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to go about getting my goals. So yeah, why not? Okay, when Saturn is retrograde, okay, when you have Saturn retrograde, that's an absence of a father figure early on in life. I have a video on retrogrades, you guys. It's going to be under my miscellaneous playlist, okay? I have a video on retrogrades. I go through all of the planets retrograde. It's gonna be different depending on the house. Yes, 9th house is teaching as well. Yes, you could teach things as well. Absolutely, you could teach things about maybe the beauty thing that you're into. So again, maybe you find some sort of new thing and then you teach it, right? 9th house goes off, learns, comes back and teaches. Okay, Saturn retrograde. So Saturn retrograde is an absence of a father figure early on in life. All the retrograde planets are internalized versus externalized, and then it's kind of like an uphill battle vibe, okay? That's just how it feels. So when you have Saturn retrograde, you might struggle with boundaries. You might struggle with being perseverant, for example. When you have Saturn retrograde, you might struggle with, it depends really what house it's in, but you might struggle with all these masculine types of things, okay? So it's internalized, and maybe you don't express it, right? Maybe you kind of build it up, and you don't even know where like this like animosity is coming from. So it's this. You said most of your chart is retrograde and you're very into astrology. You've been learning it for over 7 years and you're also very involved in social media. I'm so glad that that resonated. You said, oh, thank you. He was a late bloomer, but cougars are after him now. Oh my gosh, I don't remember what we were talking about, but that's so funny. Let's see. You have Leo moon in the 7th house. You're going to have to be seen with that Leo moon. Leo moon always needs to be seen. And I noticed for Leo moons that like, there's usually in the home, like what happens for Leo moons is like their light gets dimmed in a way, or it doesn't get like acknowledged in the way that the Leo moon wants. So yes, really, really working on actually being seen and expressing yourself creatively. Let's see what else you guys think in here. You said Saturn in the 4th house here. You can affirm that you had to relocate due to job and got some difficulties at work as well. Yes, we were talking about the Saturn in the 4th house, 10th house axis, I believe, when you commented that. Let me just go back up. Oh, yes, definitely, Carla. Yes, yes, definitely do it. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys are interested in your own natal chart readings or progress natal chart readings, you guys can check out my website. It's going to be under the readings tab. What else are you guys seeing in here? You said you have Mars and Taurus in the 2nd house in synastry. Everyone around your age and a few years younger has Pluto opposing your Mars. Does that mean all your relationships are Plutonian? It's a lot. I mean, in a way, yes. Doesn't necessarily have to be negative, but it will be power struggles. Pluto opposite Mars. I mean, look at it this way. God of War colliding with the god of the underworld, you know? But what I will say is, like, I feel like the more you transmute the energy within you, like, the less is going to affect you. I hope that makes sense. Like, you won't get as bothered, but it could be a lot of ego struggles, like, especially in the earlier part of your life. And also, like, don't, like, now avoid people who are your age. Do you know what I mean? There's that as well. So everyone's teaching us something always, I feel like. Cholo says you have North Node. Oh, I think I did that one already. Let's see. You're welcome. Okay, ascendant in the 12th house in Placidus. Interesting. I've never seen ascendant in the 12th house in Placidus. You said you have this, and 3 of your 4 kids have this placement in the 12th, not the 1st. Are you sure you're looking at, oh, you're looking at Placidus, but you're probably looking at whole sign? Are you looking at whole sign? Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? South Node in the 4th house. Oh yes, I remember we did that one as well. You said you fell asleep on my last live. Have I ever seen anyone with Venus, 12th house stellium, ruler in the 1st house of Taurus? I don't think I have seen that. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? You said, hold on. You said, what's more important, rising sign or sun? Okay, yes, that's, okay, thank you for reminding me. I was gonna talk about that earlier, okay. Okay, so with the rising sign, what I'm finding, this is just my findings. I don't know if this is facts, but what I'm finding is actually your 12th house is going to tell you more about you than even your rising. Like, your 12th house is going to be even more like of the vibe that you exude compared to your rising, okay? Because the 12th house is the unconscious, right? So you're unconsciously like vibrating this energy. So it's like if your rising and your 12th house are like, if your 1st house and 12th house are in the same sign, then that's probably not going to apply to you, right? But let's say you have a rising in, Virgo, for example, okay? So your 1st house is Virgo, but your 12th house is Leo, okay? So unconsciously, you actually behave more like a Leo than a Virgo. I hope that makes sense. That's just something that I've been noticing because it is that 12th house. Now, I think I have a video on this on my YouTube channel from last year. It was called How Do You Unconsciously Behave or something like that. Like, it's in my miscellaneous playlist. It's based on your 12th house. You said you had a son. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going back up here. Hey, how are you? Pluto in the 12th house. Yes. Okay. I'm actually going to do Pluto videos. That's actually on my list, but that won't be for a while. I'm doing the chakra series now, and then I have a few other ones, and then I'll get to Pluto. So that's probably going to be in 2024. I'll get to the Pluto series in depth, okay? I have Pluto through the signs, that's generational, but Pluto through the signs is generational, but the house is going to affect you more. So when you have Pluto in the 12th, okay, this is like all unconscious things. You're basically coming through in this lifetime, because 12th house can also be past life, and it can be a lot of things. You're closing out that cycle in this lifetime. So it could be a lot of shadow traits, shadow beliefs, fears, paranoias that you're closing out in this lifetime, but it can also be psychic gifts that you're also tapping into, right? That's that 12th house. Wherever Pluto goes through, you're transforming through that particular house. So you're transforming through your unconscious, basically, probably clearing out a lot of junk. A lot of the time I see, like, even psychically, like, I don't know, it's a little bit, I don't know, like, what's the word? It's not graphic. It's like, I don't know, I'll give you guys the example. Like, you know, when people go to the bathroom, I mean, I'm not like a medical practitioner, so I don't know if this is actually a thing, but sometimes when I think of the lower subconscious, I think of it as like the intestines, and the person has gone to the bathroom, but there's still like residue around the intestine, okay? So that's how I see sometimes Pluto shadowy energy. Like, there's this residue energy that needs to be still cleared out, if that makes sense, right? So it's in your 12th, so it's very much about the unconscious, and it's very much just like, and it's carried over, right? So 12th house is always carried over. So that's Pluto in the 12th. I'll make a video with more information, but that's kind of like the overall idea. Let's see. What system are you guys looking at where you guys see the rising in the 12th house? Is that the whole sign system? Because usually I see the rising in the first house in Placidus In Placidus, in Placidus tropical. Hey Jody, how are you doing? You said Uranus ascendant conjunct first house in Libra opposing Chiron and Mars in Aries in the 7th house. Uranus. So Uranus aspecting your ascendant, you're going to be unique, you're going to be different. Maybe even the way you express yourself is unique and different. Maybe even the way like that you dress is unique and different. Also, you're going to be like ahead of your time, right? With that particular aspect. Now you have it opposing your Chiron and Mars in Aries in the 7th house. This is interesting because Libra in the 1st house is a little bit of a struggle because your identity is created through other people. And then you have Mars and Aries in the 7th house. So Mars is wanting to go, but the 7th house is like, hey guys, like, what do you think about this? Right? So you might kind of struggle in the sense where it's like when you're going after your goals and these types of things. Yes, Sag, yes, they can be detached, absolutely. You said no filter. I don't know if you were talking about me, but I definitely don't. Okay, so let me tell you guys, my Mercury, this is in the Placidus tropical system. My Mercury is in Libra and it's in the 12th house, okay? But it's progressed. It's progressed into Scorpio, and I'm not sure if it's in the 2nd. I think it might be in the 2nd house at this point, but regardless, okay? So originally in the 12th house in Libra. Now, probably where you guys get the blunt vibe from is actually my 3rd house is occupied by Sag. So that gives another undertone of the Mercury energy as well. So there's this. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. Okay, so MD, Sauce Boss, you want to know what kind of business you would have with your energy. So you have 1st house stellium and Sag. Then you have ascendant. Okay, hold on. So that's ascendant, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus all in the 1st house. Okay, that's good. And then you have 2nd house stellium, Moon, Neptune, and Uranus in Capricorn. And then 12th house stellium in Pluto, Sun, Mercury, and Sagittarius. And you want to know what kind of business would you have? I mean, you definitely have to have a business with all that 1st house energy in there. You have to work for yourself. That energy is not going to really vibe with other people. What I will say a little bit of a struggle is going to be the Neptune in there and Moon. I would definitely say Neptune, Moon conjunctions. You could go too much into the crown, too much into escapism. That could be something that holds you back. Even though it's in Capricorn, it's Moon and Neptune. But you're going to be super creative. I will say that. And I always say to these people, stay away from substances of any sort because it'll pull you. Like it'll pull you out of like it's that shadow that'll pull you maybe out of like the, goal and the ambition. 2nd house, I mean, that's money, making money. So you're basically here to master money, making money. And then you have a 12th house stellium. I don't know. It's hard to say with that combination. You could do a lot of things. Sag, you can see them even in athletics of some sort. Sagittarius, because it's like, here's the thing with this type of energy, like Sagittarius craves freedom. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, what are you going to do to get that freedom? It can be anything. It can be anything, even teaching about the higher mind and philosophies. With the 12th house in there, you're probably super psychic and creative. You could be creative. Maybe you start some sort of creative business as well. 12th house stellium, you could be into, you said Pluto and Sun, and then Mercury as well. Your Mercury's in Sag. It could be something to do with the higher mind, higher learning. It could be a lot of things. So it's really up to you, but the energy's there for you to start a business. Let's see what else you guys say in here. Hey, you said, oh, you guys are awesome. Yay, I'm glad. Okay, let me tell you guys a really funny story, okay? So my mom was actually telling me when I was a kid, and I always think of this, it was so funny. She's like, when you were a kid, you would just talk all the time and everyone had to listen to you. And I was dying because I was like, oh my gosh, so nothing has changed. She's like, in our language, she was like, we would call you like little boss because you were always like telling everyone everything. And I was dying. I was like, oh my gosh, like sometimes it really is like nature versus nurture. You know what I mean? And you're just like born that way. Okay, you said, what does a planet being retrograde in your chart mean? You have Jupiter in Gemini and it's retrograde. Yes. Okay, so what you want to do is, what you want to do if you want to learn more about that, check out my metaphysical playlist. Actually, no, it's not that one. Check out my miscellaneous playlist, okay? The other one with an M. My miscellaneous playlist, in that playlist, I have all the planets retrograde and what all of that means. The house is going to tell you a little bit more. I don't have that yet. Maybe that'll be a future video where I talk more about, this planet in this house retrograde. Like that's maybe going to be in the future. But as of right now, I just have the sign retrograde, okay? Or sorry, not the sign, the planet retrograde. So when you have Jupiter retrograde, okay? When you have Jupiter retrograde, when it comes to money, I don't want to say you could struggle. It's just, it might be a little harder. Like the energy is more so internalized. So maybe when it comes to like going after things, like you might be a little bit more hesitant, right? Where it's like, you know, instead of going after it, you might spend a little bit more time like thinking about it because it's internalized. So you kind of have to pull the energy out of you. That's kind of how retrograde works in a natal chart, okay? So when you have it, okay, you have it in the 6th house. So you can make money, for example, through 6th house, like things like daily activities. It could be, you guys are so they did know. They literally did know. It's just so funny, D. I'm just reading your message. Yeah, they literally did know. It's just so funny because it's like, I don't know, some things just never change. You know what I mean? I guess like the core personality traits. Anyway, so, okay, back to the Jupiter in the 6th house retrograde. So when you have it in the 6th house, it could also be health, healing, and being of service. So you could make money through these things. But what could take place is, you know, it could be more so internalized. Like you could struggle a little bit more with this. So keep this in mind. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. You said Saturn 4th house return was your husband's death. How old were you when that took place? Well, let's talk about the good parts of Mars, Saturn, Pluto, 8th house. Yes, I have a whole playlist on the 8th house, you guys. So if you guys want to learn more about the 8th house, Scorpio, and just like the way that I see it positively, or just like, I don't know, I never see anything as positive or negative. I just see it as like the energy. Do you know what I mean? So even if it's a negative, you can turn it into a positive. I don't know if I'm just too optimistic, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? So like, even if you have something that's negative, like here's the thing, 8th house Scorpio goes through a lot. They go through a lot of shadows, but it's like you can either sit in those shadows and just like feel sorry for yourself, or you can kind of see how you can transmute that into something that's positive. Do you know what I mean? Into something that is going to help you, you know, like kind of take these things that have taken place instead of like thinking about it all the time. Because like Scorpio can hold grudges, right? And so can the 8th house. So that's kind of like the downfall of the energy. But when the energy kind of goes through the darkness, right? It kind of goes through the darkness and goes into the light. So you kind of have to go through the underworld, you know? So some people get stuck in the underworld, and sometimes people like it down there, you know what I mean? It's like nice, it's comfortable, it's like what you're used to. But it's like when you come into like that full manifesting potential, like if you can look at that as your end goal, like why not work through these lower things? You know what I mean? It's not gonna be fun, you know what I mean? You might have days where you're like screaming in a forest or whatever, or into a pillow, but at least it's coming out of your system, you know what I mean? You're welcome. You're surrounded by a lot of Pisces risings. I'm curious to know, where do you have Pisces in your natal chart? Are they in your 7th house? Everything you need to know about Scorpio is a very interesting video. Yeah, I have a lot. I have everything you need to know about Scorpio, and then I have one where I talk about Scorpio and the sacral chakra. And then I have one where I go like in depth. There's a few of them. So definitely check it out. Yes, definitely send me an email if you're interested. It might be whole sign. Sometimes I notice like sometimes people look at the whole sign system. I'm just answering your question, K10, where it's like sometimes their ICs in the like sometimes they're on that axis, I guess, where the 12th house is the rising, and then I guess their 6th house would be their descendant, and then sometimes they have their IC in the 3rd house, and then their midheaven is in the 9th house. But I haven't learned enough about whole signs to understand why that is. Because it's like the very definition of the 10th house is your career. Do you know what I mean? So when you're looking at the midheaven in the 9th house, how is that your career? I don't know. I don't know what the whole sign people have to say about that. Okay, guys, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for being here, for your questions, for your comments, for your likes and your shares and your subscribes. Thank you for being a part of the channel. Next time I do a YouTube live, I will definitely post it in advance. And if you guys are interested in your own natal chart readings, progressed natal chart readings, you guys know where to find that information in the description box below. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your evening.